I want their leader brought here. I want him brought to me. I want the revolution crushed.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Emad AlTurk. My name is Sim. Along with me are my fellow co-host Sheikh Amer
Assalamu alaikum.
and the one and only
Assalamu
Mort. Welcome to the show, everyone. We have a wonderful show for you guys this afternoon. Help us out on patreon.com/the Emad AlTurk. Every little bit helps. We survive with your support. We do not make any money off of YouTube views or any kind of other ad revenue. We are entirely supported by you. And if you would be so kind, please throw a comment in the comment section below and make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Our guest today is a brother who is one of the founders or one of the major supporters of the first Palestinian cryptocurrency called Yafa. He's also one of the co-founders of the first Muslim museum, as I know it. It is the first, I think, in my opinion, for the International Muslim Museum. Did I get that right?
The International Museum of Muslim Cultures.
The International Museum of Muslim Cultures. Jazakallah khair. The one and only Emad AlTurk. You have a huge biography, brother. I could not read everything, but he's a very decorated person. Please check it out in the description below and see all of his accomplishments, mashallah. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to be part of the discussion.
Let's just start off because you have a whole lot of things that you've done in your career. What got you started in building this first Muslim museum? Because before I met you, I didn't even know it existed, and then I started Googling, and I'm like, oh my God, there's a Muslim museum in the United States. So tell us about that project before anything.
So believe it or not, this November we're actually going to be celebrating our 25-year anniversary. So the museum actually started in 2000, or the idea of the museum started around 2000, and we were open to the public in April 2001. And the first exhibit was about Islamic Moorish Spain. Looking at the really contributions of Muslims to Europe and the Renaissance of Europe, because Europe at that time, were actually in the Dark Ages, and a lot of the knowledge and from science to math to algebra to astronomy and was actually introduced by Muslims to Europe. So we felt it's important to actually start with that story that actually combines the Arab and the Africans from North Africa who actually went into Spain and Portugal, the Iberian Peninsula, to liberate that area and ruled for over 700 years. So we started with an exhibit and slowly, particularly after September 11 events, people encouraged us to actually grow it into a prominent institution. So we started building, additional exhibitions. We have had an exhibition about the legacy of Timbuktu, Wonders of the Written World, which is primarily talks about the stereotypical depiction of West Africa as an uncivilized society. But we discovered during our research that there was over 1 million written manuscripts in Mali alone, and almost 20 million written manuscripts in West Africa that were done actually all during the highest period of Islamic intellectuals there. Education was extremely prized. This was an empire, really full of treasures, and they had gold and trade, but the trade of books was actually the most prominent in that area. And again, the purpose of the museum is to educate the American public about Islamic history and culture, because many, not only really the general American public, even the many Muslims don't fully understand their history and the contributions that we made to the world, to America. So that's really why we were inspired to actually develop the first Islamic History and Culture Museum. And alhamdulillah, we've been growing steadily, and our goal is to actually become, over the next 5 to 10 years, national in scope. Although now mostly we're a regional institution.
So, and you're located in Mississippi, right?
In Jackson, Mississippi, right?
Yeah. So I was reading on your website, you have an exhibit, which is a journey to understanding Palestine and Israel unveiled. And it says that the exhibit's closed now. So was that from some type of pressure, or just revamping, or it was just a temporary project? I'm just asking because very related to Gaza and Palestine. So
no, we actually had that exhibit opened in January 2024, and we had it only for about 5-month period.
Got it.
Because we typically we didn't have enough space to keep these exhibitions. But the idea was to actually travel that exhibit to different parts of the country. We developed in a way where it can be easily replicated. And we tried to have it in Chicago and New York and really different parts, but and we wanted to have it in an established institution, so that a lot of the general public can see it. And unfortunately, when they don't want to touch a difficult topic like this, so we couldn't really find the right venue to actually host the exhibit.
You mean there were multiple organizations that just didn't feel that it was just gonna be very difficult to maintain that as far as security and everything?
Well, no, I mean, actually the venues that we were trying to put it in, they rejected hosting the exhibit in their location. Yeah, it's because of political pressure.
Of course,
they really don't want to tell the story there.
So
if you all know of a venue that will accept it, we would love to bring it to Chicago or anywhere in the country for that matter, if any of your audience is interested.
Yeah, I always find that interesting, but I always like to ask that question when something like this happens, because it's kind of a big initiative. Who were the people that were most receptive to it? Which demographic was most receptive to this, and which demographic was kind of trying to push this away the most?
Well, we have, I think a lot of the young people were the most, people were really, regardless of their color or religious background.
Beautiful.
They were the most receptive. It's older folks, even older African Americans. We invited a lot of different congregations to come to the museum, and there was a lot of resistance because of, particularly with evangelical Christians, both white and black, that felt that Israel is the God-chosen people, and God gave him that land, and all of this baloney that they're filling their heads with. But that's probably I would say the demographics. I would say probably over 55 maybe or older. These are probably the most difficult part that pushed back. Yeah, the younger generation actually were wonderful. We had built a very activist group in Mississippi called Mississippi for Palestine, that within a short period of time we had probably almost 1,000 people across the state that were demonstrating. They were doing a lot of support, and I would say probably 90% of them are probably under 30.
Wow, yeah, that's why I like to ask that question. It gives you specifics on what type of people were involved and who's willing to help and stuff like that.
Oh, what kind of stuff does the exhibit feature though?
Yeah.
Is there anything that they could find offensive, that ruffle feathers, as they say?
Yeah, I mean, we are, even some of the rabbis that came, and we had a very long relationship with the Jewish community here in Mississippi. They objected to really how we're portraying the history of what happened. And of course, we had to talk about Zionism and give the history, but we had one area that actually focuses on Gaza, and we called it a genocide. This was back, in January 24 when we opened. And although at that time, the ICC did not determine that it was a genocide, they came shortly after that to say it's a plausible genocide. But basically they said this is not a genocide. And when we compared what was happening in Gaza to the Holocaust, I think they blew a fuse in this process here. So,
well, that's something that they never want to hear, right? It can only be us that have a Holocaust, nobody else.
Exactly. They're cornered. I guess Holocaust only belongs to them. When we basically said this is the Palestinian Holocaust, is what was happening, and genocide, ethnic cleansing, war crimes, crimes against humanity, all of these. We had all the international law. We had actually how you justify based on what international law says. So we backed up everything really with evidence. We didn't just, and of course we also showcase the destruction and the damage that happened in Gaza. Destroying schools, universities, hospitals, medics, killing journalists. All of these violations that are against any normal decency in any war, and against all international humanitarian law. We pointed all this out, and then of course we also showed the other side of all of the demonstrations around the world, showing the support of the Palestinian people, which again, many people in the audience that came, they said we didn't realize that this is happening. Of course, it's happening, but they didn't know because the media doesn't cover it.
Mm-hmm. So a quick question. When you were talking to those or I guess you guys had a relationship with the Jewish community there, but did those individuals or that group, do they acknowledge the Nakba or the Nakba? Did they actually acknowledge those things, or they just had an objection over the Holocaust?
Well, some did, some didn't. Basically, they felt that they provided a lot of opportunities for Palestinians, but Palestinians rejected, the partition plan with the UN. Mm-hmm. Then they rejected any peace overture from Israel. Because all of this is a bunch of lies, and then when you go and tell them the truth, some of them are ingrained in these things. Most of the rabbis, they go to, as you all know, they go to the Holy Land and the Palestinian territory, and they indoctrinate.
Yeah.
Basically, they teach him all of the things that they're God chosen people, they're superior race, they're a lot of really white supremacist ideas that they're better than anybody else. They're better than the Gentiles. They're better than the Arabs. They're better than Muslims. We really the exhibit was very provocative. Basically, we presented it. We wanted to tell our own story as Palestinians. We didn't want to sugarcoat it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. You know but for me, I never, and I'm sorry, we're going to digress for a second, but I never understood the argument. Like, if, let's just say the narrative is true, that Palestinians originally rejected the offer for partition, right? Let's just say, let's go with that narrative. So what? The Native Americans also rejected the Americans. It didn't mean that you couldn't give them land in the end, right? It doesn't make any sense, right? Just so because you rejected an invader that did not have land before, and I think naturally that would happen to anybody. If you not popped up on my lawn today and said, "Hey, this is mine," I'm going to say, "No, you're not taking any land at all." It's my natural gut reaction.
Yeah.
Now, if you go through decades of war and you finally want to come to peace and you say, "Okay, cool, now we're on a negotiation table," you can't now come back and say, "Oh, well, you rejected it in the beginning." No, it doesn't make any. I never understood that argument. It's just so flawed to me that, and especially that it was the UN that partitioned the land, I should say the League of Nations, and then it became the UN, right? And then so they're willing to. It's not anybody that decided this. It was decided for you. This land was not just, you didn't just get the land because you somehow won it in a debate. No, it was divided for you. So you agreed by taking that land. By default, you also agree that the other side of the land that you don't have is going to be Palestinians. I don't think there should be a question about that. I'm not saying that Palestinians should, have to give up any of their land, but I'm just saying by protocol, by what they agreed to, they already agreed to the term that one side would be Palestinian and one side would be Israeli. So what is the argument here? Because you rejected that initial proposal? Yeah, so what? You guys also rejected it. You guys wanted more. I mean, they always...
I think you have to understand that the Zionist design is a lot bigger than Palestine.
Sure.
I mean, if the Greater Israel project that the Zionist movement aspired for actually includes from the Nile to the Euphrates, which include portions of Lebanon, all of Palestine, portions of Jordan, portions of Syria, portion of Iraq, portion of Saudi Arabia, portion of Egypt.
Yeah.
This is their project. So this argument in that case alone, you have to put it in context of all the other arguments. And this is really what colonial settler mentality does. I mean, they want to demean the oppressed. So, we want peace with them. We are peace-loving people, but they are terrorists. They're killing us. They are doing this to us. They're doing this to us. So the narrative, you have to go back and look. There's a document that was published probably about 7 or 8 years ago that shows, like it's a dictionary of all terms that the Zionists move. Basically, all the talking points that the Zionists advocate, or elected officials to all of the universities, to the media, and you see that the narrative is the same. That these are bad people. They don't talk about that we're occupying him or we're destroying him. We have collective punishments. We're doing all of this evil things to them. We're doing it to defend ourselves. That's their mantra. Even the war in Gaza. I mean, they're killing. Every day they're killing 100, 200 people, mostly civilians that are even unarmed. And they say, well, we're defending ourselves. Yeah. How are you defending yourself against a 6-month baby?
Yeah.
But in their mind, this baby is going to become a terrorist, or this is what they're advocating and telling the whole world.
But this is a principle in the Talmud. It's a principle in the Talmud. And actually, you go even biblically, where God ordered them the Amalekites to bash the heads of the babies. This is something biblical to them, that they have the right to do so. So the other interesting thing is that, when I really learned about like the mentality is, it's a quote and it sticks with me, but Golda Meir, she said that we will never forgive the Palestinians for making us kill their children.
Wow.
So even in acknowledging they're killing children, they will never take blame. They say it's still their fault.
How do you have a conversation with somebody like that?
You can't.
You can't have a conversation. That's why you said when they lie more than they breathe. That's you can't. The only way you can survive is by lying.
They lie like they breathe.
Yeah, and of course you have evangelical Christian Zionists, and you have Arab and Muslim Zionists. Not only evangelical Zionists. I don't know if you all heard the new ambassador to Israel, Huckabe, just recently.
Oh, he's a raging Zionist.
He's blaming the Palestinians for the suffering that Israel is causing. It's all their fault because of the attack that they had on October 7th. So it doesn't matter whether they're bombing and using American weapons and killing children. They're always blaming the victim. And this is really what Malcolm X said decades ago, that it's going to come a time where the media actually portray the oppressor as the oppressed and the oppressed as the oppressor.
It's true. But I don't think the audience really understands, because most people don't really understand politics that well or follow it that closely. Mike Huckabe is not just a Zionist. He's a rabid Zionist. He actually, even before this October 7th thing, he has his views. He shills very hard for Israel, to the point where he says, I don't even believe a Palestinian identity exists. There's no such thing as a Palestinian. There was never a Palestinian state. There's no history there. He believed that they're all from Egypt and they just migrated into that land. Yeah, they don't even believe that Palestinians exist. They believe that they're a mixture of Egyptians and Turks that just somehow popped up there. And you know what? One of the biggest things that annoy me about Zionists is how they try to erase history. There's no doubt in the people from that region, the Arabs, that the people who inhabited originally that land, even before the Yahud or Canaanin, were from Canaan. Yeah. These are Canaanites who are Arab. There's no doubt about it. They came out of Yemen, they migrated northward, and they went to place like Petra. They went to Palestine, not modern-day Palestine. Palmyra. They went to Syria. They went here. And then it was when they tried, because the Zionists, they have to even acknowledge by their own text, they had to fight a people that were there. Who were those people? They just came out of the sky?
I'm gonna share something with you that might be shocking to some of the audience. You know that in Israel, actually, they do not allow Israelis to take DNA tests.
Yeah.
And they're doing this because they know when they do the test, most of them came from Eastern and Western Europe and the United States. This is what their ethnic background. If they test the Arabs, the Jews are our cousins.
Yeah.
So we have the genealogy actually proves our point, not their point.
Yeah. Did you hear about that operation that happened in the 50s with the Yemenites, with the Yemeni Jews in the 90s? It's called Operation Magic Carpet. Such an evil thing. What they did was they took the Jews of Yemen, who, by the way, were not having an issue. A lot of other Arab places had removed, after they established the borders, there was tension, yes, so they removed them from the land, and some places didn't. But Yemen was one of those places where the Jews remained as they were, anywhere from the north to the south. They came up with a plan that, we have to remove them from here because now there's a holy land. And they decided that we're going to, with the help of the Yemeni government, that they're going to move them to Aden. And then from Aden, they were going to airlift them to Israel. But even in their strategic planning, they didn't get the planes on time. Famine happened inside of Aden. The Yemeni government had to hire nurses from Ethiopia to care for those refugees who were sitting there. Finally, the plane comes. So now these couple thousand, or I think 3,000 Yemenite families ended up in Israel. Okay, they get to Tel Aviv. Right after they get off the airplane, they took their kids from them. And they said, what are you doing with our kids? And they said, well, we have to vaccinate and check them, make sure they're okay, right? And then they drove them straight to a kibbutz. Because they're like, now you're you have to go to work, you have to do something. You can't just sit around. But you told us we can come here and study Torah, like you told us. So you promised us we could just live the life that we were living in Yemen here. They said, no, it's different. This is a different world. So it's like, okay, where are our kids? We're treating them for some diseases. They have cholera. They have all the TB, whatever. We're giving them vaccines. Anyways, months go by, no response. They haven't seen their kids. Then they took their kids, and then they asked about them. They said, what happened to them? They said, they died. So what do you mean they died? All of them died? Yeah, all of them died. Okay, where's the grave? They took them to the grave. And, okay, they didn't believe them. Mothers have intuitive ferasa. They didn't die. They dug up the graves of their animal bones. Okay? And they still said, we don't know what happened to them. And
Operation Magic Carpet, you said it's called?
Only up until 1996, where Yemenite children who remember being taken talked about it. And they were given to adoption to Ashkenazi parents, to European parents, and not told them. Finally, the Israeli government had to acknowledge it officially in the 90s, like 96 or 97. But I believe the reason why they did that is because when you DNA test those kids, they're going to be Arab or they're going to be Middle Eastern. And they say, my parent was from Poland. He's from Russia. From
this is insane. I've never heard of this.
Yeah, I never heard of this, but I was just looking up while he was talking, and this is all like apparently factual. It's something that even the Israeli government acknowledges, that they took all these children and they gave them to someone else. These European people. That's why you see so many. It makes sense because you see so many Yemeni-looking Israelis over there, and I'm like, well, what's this whole thing about Ashkenazi when these guys are looking clearly Arab,
Yeah.
And then now it makes sense because in 1945 is when all this happened, or between 1943 and 45 is when this happened.
Something like that, yeah.
And it's mind blowing. They just took all these kids and they just gave them to Ashkenazi Jewish families.
Right when you thought the layers would end, there's more layers.
So even just understand. If they can do that to their own children, imagine what they'll do to non-Jewish children.
Wow.
Yeah. So they launched 3 investigative commissions: the Minskovsky-Bahul Commission in '67, the Shalgi Commission in 1988, the Academy Commission in 1995 to 2001, and these commissions concluded that most of the children died of illness due to poor conditions. There was no organized conspiracy. Of course, there was no There was evidence of negligence, poor record keeping, and cultural insensitivity. In some cases, the children may have been adopted without parental consent, but there was no proof.
By the way, the cultural
Wow.
insensitivity they're talking about, what it basically is the Zionists were Europeans and the Yemenis are Arabs.
Yeah.
And like their women cover munaqabat, they practice Torah, they're religious, they were simple people. They didn't want to work in, because at that time when they moved there, Israel was heavily a socialist communist type of idea. Like go to the kibbutz, we work together, we do the farming, everybody eats. That's not how the Yemenites thought. Right? They had their own land, they were used to their own traditions, right? They're Mizrahi, they're not Ashkenazim. They have their own way. They recite their Torah in Aramaic. They don't do it in Hebrew, in other languages, right? The 10 Commandments. So they're very different, and they look at them, even till now, they look at Arab Jews as backward, unproductive. It's the Europeans that they believe that, oh, we carried the weight for you guys. We earned the money. We're the intellectual superiors here. That's why there's a very famous book, and you might know this, Emad, by the way. He died recently, maybe a few years ago. His name is Naim Giladi. He's an Iraqi Jew. He actually was a Zionist. He lived in Israel. He emigrated there from Baghdad. And the amount of racism he faced as being a politician in Israel made him leave and renounce like Zionism. He died in New York City, but he wrote books about the way they view it, it's just so insane that it's really not just about Jew and non-Jew. It's really about European Jewry. Like, we are superior, we own this, we're the ones that are God-given, we're the ones that inherit all of this, nobody else.
But, all of this, this is their tradition. They lie and cheat and do all kind of things.
They do it to each other too, Imad.
And yeah, of course, and they form commissions and they investigate themselves and they cover it up because they have a plan of development of a greater Israel. This is what they're going after. So even this war, this recent last 18 months, actually exposed the hypocrisy of Israel and the West that has never been exposed to that degree, where people are actually seeing genocide because of alternative media. They see it beamed as it happens. So they couldn't deny what was going on, and people are starting learning for themselves. That's why the younger generation have a different perspective about the Palestinian cause and the Israelis. Even in the United States today, there was a recent Pew Research poll that shows that more than 50% now are pro-Palestine in the U.S.
Yeah.
With the Democratic Party, it's close to about 70%. It's probably around 35 to 40% within the Republicans.
I think it's much higher now.
Really?
I think it's about almost 50.
No. It's if you combine it. If people under 50 with the Republican Party, people under 50 is 50%.
Right.
People over 50 is about 33%.
You're right. Yeah.
Wow.
So again, public opinion is changing, and I was fortunate, last year to actually visit South Africa for a couple of months to study really the apartheid regime, how their struggle for independence and liberation happened over there, and it took from the time they globalized the conflict. And particularly challenging the white supremacist theology, and start using boycott and divestment and economic pressure. It took him 10 years from that point for this to collapse. And slowly public opinion starts increasing in the African South Africans to the point where actually during Reagan time, Congress decided to boycott the white apartheid regime in South Africa. So I think with all the negative things that we hear, there's a lot of positive things. That's why they're crazy about shutting down debate, and they don't want people to protest, and they going against the freedom of speech of people who criticize Israel and equating this to Zionism. Or anti-Semitic. This is all because they really feel that they have to be on the offensive. But again, the public opinion now, public sentiment, is actually in favor of the Palestinians in the U.S. and it's going to continue to increase.
I also realized just it's along the same vein. The MS4JW, as you're also the founder of Mississippi for a Just World, and that is basically an advocacy and humanitarian relief and education, and it's also devoted to dismantling inequality and advancing global human rights. So when you're a part of something that's multiple initiatives, and there's lots of overlap, how do you kind of organize that and make sense of that for everybody that you're presenting to and you're educating?
I think the liberation movements, whether it's in Ireland, whether it's in South Africa, whether it's Algeria, whether it's here with the Black Americans, with the indigenous people, it's the same story. It's based on white supremacy, colonial mentality that we are better than you. This is what they were teaching in South Africa, even in the churches. Wow. They were teaching that white is more superior than blacks. And this goes across the board. So really, the struggle is one, and this is what we have to talk when we address the issues of Palestinians' plight. There is no difference between what's happening in inner cities in America here with the African Americans and the Latinos and all the immigration problems that they're facing with the Latino community. We have to be united to face this evil, and the evil is what it is white supremacist colonial structure. There
was another incident called the ringworm affair that involved mass radiation treatments for the Mizrahi, which are basically dark-skinned Sephardic
Persian or Yemenite Jews in that region.
Yeah,
Middle Eastern Jews.
They're North African Jews.
No, Sephardic are I'm sorry. It happened to the Sephardic Jews, and they're from North Africa and Spain.
Yeah. And so between 1949 and 1959, the Israeli government conducted X-ray treatments on the scalps of 100,000 children, mostly Moroccan and other Sephardic and Mizrahi Jews, to treat ringworm, a contagious fungal infection. At least that's what they're saying. But it was such a high doses of radiation that many of the children developed cancers and were completely sterile. And hundreds or thousands and thousands of them died prematurely because of these treatments. It's wild. Some of the stuff that they've done.
So is there like experimentations? Why would they do that? Is it just for the sake of experimenting on them?
Do you know what the odd thing about this is? This is the one of the horror stories they talk about when you talk about Nazi Germany. They said, "Oh, Hitler, he was experimenting with children. He was doing gene therapy. All these things, right? Eugenics. This is why many of and that's what they actually say. This is why many of the Ashkenazim have all these genetic diseases, because apparently Hitler is the reason for that. Not the inbreeding, but Hitler." Yeah.
Wow. So the Israeli government never issued a formal apology to them. They did give some money through back channels to compensate some of the victims, but many of the victims and families didn't receive any kind of justice, and it underscores what Emad is talking about, this white colonial supremacy that they feel even among their own internal Israeli society, where they feel like they're superior over their own. So they have their own class structures and this is all like stuff they hide under the table. It's like because you in your mind you think, Israeli means just Israeli, but they have their own like how in India they have these caste systems like Brahmin. I'm thinking like these European Ashkenazis think they're like Brahmins. They're the top. They're the cream of the crop. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're the visionaries, and all these other type of different Israelis are subcastes and people who are labor force. You'll see some of them or many of them in the IDF performing all the dirty work that they don't want to do. I'm not saying all of them, but there's this. When you see some of these videos, you see a lot of them are dark skinned, and it makes you. It's all kind of coming together when you learn about this dark past of theirs. Aside from
I see what you did there. Dark past.
Emad, you've been recently also involved with a new podcast called the Muslim Street. How did you get into that?
So Malik Aziz, who is one of the co-founders of the Muslim Street, actually served on the museum board 15 years ago. So we became very close friends, and after the Palestinian issues that transpired over the last couple of years, he wanted to add a Palestinian correspondent to Muslim Street. So he invited me to join their group, which I've done a few months ago. So our relationship really goes back, like I said, at least 15, closer to 20 years now. So I'm, of course, Muslim Street is a podcast that really also similar to what you all are doing, just talking about different topics that impact the Muslim community across the world. So I'm honored to be associated with him in this effort here.
And as far as your involvement with being a holder of this new Palestine cryptocurrency called Yafa, can you tell us a bit about that? I know you're a big proponent of this cryptocurrency. Anytime these cryptocurrencies kind of come into my mind, or in my view, sometimes it's always, not always, but you get a bit guarded and make sure that it's not a scam or anything. So tell us a bit about that and let people know how it operates.
Okay, so part of the liberation of any movement, you have to have economic independence and liberation. So this is a part and parcel of our really liberation of the Palestinians, and really liberation of people who are marginalized and economically oppressed. So to put it in context, if you look at what's happening in Israel today, they collect taxes from the Palestinian people in the West Bank. Gaza, they did not have as much control, but because basically they surrounded them, and they're in a concentration camp for the last almost 18 years. So nothing goes in and out without Israeli approval. No money can go in and out without Israeli banks being involved in this. Even the transaction that happened with Palestinian banks, Israel has to supervise any transaction or any transfer of funds. And they can withhold funds at will whenever they want. So, for example, in the West Bank, the authority, the Palestinian Authority, receive funds from different sources. Israel collect taxes to provide services, supposedly, which they never do. These taxes, they withhold it from the Palestinian Authority to pay Palestinian employees that work for them, based on threatening of security, and that's really kind of forcing the Palestinian Authority to do what Israel wants. So unfortunately, the Palestinian Authority became a tool for Israel in recent years, although it started as a resistance movement. But now Mahmoud Abbas, who is the president of that authority, is really more of a collaborator with Israel than he cares about what's happening to the Palestinian people. So in order for us to actually reach our independence, we have to do whatever we can, from economic independence to the effort of the Israeli government to erase Palestinian culture. So even as simple as the food, when you're talking about now they're telling you it's Israeli hummus and Israeli falafel and Israeli couscous. How in the heck did this become Israeli?
Israeli za'atar, like, it's crazy.
Exactly, but because the reason they do this is because they want to erase the Palestinian identity. That those Palestinians don't exist. This is our tradition, our culture. So this is really kind of the concept. What do we need to do to create a Palestinian independent economy that the Palestinians and Palestinian supporters and people who are fighting for justice across the world actually can utilize to basically cut out the banking system out of this process. So if I want to send, just to give you an example, I'm from Gaza, and if I want to send money to to my family over there, it has to go through a Palestinian bank. The Palestinian bank has to get authority from Israel. They cannot go and just cash it from the bank. They have to go to merchants that charge them 20 or 25 or 30% to actually get their money. So if I send them $1,000, they might not get but $650, $700 out of it. This is exploitation of the system. So that's part of the reason, really, why we wanted to develop this currency. So we launched the Yafa currency in August of last year. And alhamdulillah, it's been growing since then. We are now probably 24-fold than what it was. But again, this is not similar to other cryptocurrency, although the mechanism of how it functions is the same. Through using blockchain technology, and how it functions is similar. But most of the coins are actually meme coins. There's no utility or value associated with it. In our case, the reason for our coin is the liberation of Palestine, improving the cultural exchanges, developing a digital Palestine where we can preserve all of the papers of the Palestinians, all of the authors, all of the what's happening in that Israel is claiming that this is not our culture, going back centuries in this process. We want to preserve it through this process. So really, the value for this currency is its utility as a liberation tool for the Palestinians and the people who are pro-justice across the world.
Yeah. So how do people actually are you guys listed on any exchanges? Like, how do people buy this coin?
Yeah. So you can actually go to our website, yafa.io, and it tells you how to buy. So you download, and we are actually on the Solana blockchain. So when you go there, you have to download a Phantom wallet. You buy Solana, and then you convert the Solana into Yafa.
Oh, okay, great. So you're on the Solana network then? Is that what it is?
Right, we're on the Solana network. That's correct.
All right. And I think Solana is chosen because it's encrypted, so they don't know where your money. I mean, and Solana is one of the few networks that's.
Well, yeah, Solana can also be used for real-time transactions as well.
Yeah, real-time as well too. Yeah.
So if you, I think it allows within Gaza people to use this currency if they all download this wallet. If you can drive mass adoption among them, they're not beholden to these exchanges. Remember, in the past episode, you weren't here, Mort, but we had this team from Radio Watermelon on, and anyone who didn't listen to it, they basically are vetting people who are needing money and making sure that they're authentic. That's what Radio Watermelon does, and they list those people's initiatives or their campaigns to raise money on their X or Twitter platform, and you can go and make sure that if you ever want to donate something to people in Gaza, you can donate directly to their fundraising campaign. So that being said, they were explaining to us some of the problems with exchanges and how the exchanges within Gaza are taking sometimes 30 up to 40% of your donation, because when you need to convert it to cash, there's all these incredible exchange rate fees that they have to pay. This can cut that middleman out if they can centralize, or if they can drive mass adoption among the people of Gaza, among people who are donating to them. You can donate through the Yafa currency. I think that's a brilliant idea, especially as a natural follow-up to the Radio Watermelon episode that we did. It's a solution, and it just worked out that way. We didn't even realize like this was the way the schedule just played out with the guests, is that this drives a solution for the people of Gaza to adopt this currency, this cryptocurrency, and you can just cut out the middleman.
Yeah. Yeah, and so what we're doing with the humanitarian projects in Gaza using Yafa, we created a donation wallet where somebody who owns Yafa wanted to donate to any project that people are interested in doing in Gaza. They just transfer the Yafa funds to the donation wallet, and then we send it to different humanitarian organizations on the ground. So, for example, just recently, we just completed a water well rehab in the central part of Gaza City. We also did recycling because there's no raw materials. Many of the schools, as you all know, have been bombed. So they're still teaching because the Palestinians and the Gazans are very resilient people. So they're teaching their kids, but they're teaching them on the ground. I mean, they basically just putting more either on dirt or they put mats for them to learn. So they wanted desks and chairs. So one of the things that they've done is went and took the crates, the 8 crates that used to come to Gaza before they stopped about a month ago, and recycling those to actually build chairs and benches for the students. So that project was just completed recently. We have an orphanages we're supporting. We're supporting food banks like the Gaza Soup Kitchen, for example, that help feed tens of thousands of Gazans there. And all of this is done through this donation wallet, and we're actually sending these funds directly through Yafa. I mean, it takes them 10 seconds, and the Yafa is there. So they're beginning to exchange it. It's not widespread throughout the Gaza Strip yet, but this is really our goal, is for it to become widespread over time. But we're beginning this process here.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges, even just with cryptocurrency in general, is that you have to have a lot of tutorials set up for people who don't understand the concept of a digital wallet, understanding how they can convert their cash into Yafa currency or whichever cryptocurrency you're buying. Apps like Coinbase have made it a lot easier. I don't know if there's any plans to integrate Yafa into a exchange like Coinbase. That would drive a mass adoption very quickly, because that would allow a connection between your bank and buying Yafa and allowing.
I was actually checking my Coinbase right now to see if Yafa was available, so I could just quickly, if I could buy something. You know what I mean? But it's not. But I mean,
it's not, because a lot of those exchanges require
KYCs and a lot of.
They require probably a significantly higher market cap. You have to be over 100 million before those exchanges actually get there. So when we started in August, we were about 1 million market cap. Today we are about 24 million market cap. Okay. So we're heading in that direction. So as we continue to grow, and our goal is the next few years to actually become $1 billion market cap. This is why we're encouraging people to whatever they can. If they can do $50, $100, if they can do more, and buy Yafa, this will help its adaptability, increase the market cap, which is in turn will allow us to put us in a lot more exchanges. But ultimately, within the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to actually have our own blockchain where we don't even have to depend on Solana. But for the time being, this is a temporary solution. We are under the Solana blockchain.
So are there plans in the future? Because this can also be used outside of Palestine as well too, right? Meaning just for everyday currency, right? I mean, you're building your own independent financial network, right? Essentially what you're doing, right? So are there plans to maybe have, because you know how Coinbase will release a debit card version of so you can actually spend what you have in your wallet. Is that something that's in the works or maybe in the future?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of plans that requires millions of dollars of investment. So anybody's interested to expedite these plans and want to invest in that, we're very interested in talking to them. But again, ultimately, what we want is to actually have an e-commerce platform where all trading is going to happen. You can use your debit card, you can use credit card. Many businesses can become part of it, like maybe a Palestinian Chamber of Commerce across the globe, where they can exchange and develop areas. So really what we wanted to do is to develop what we call digital Palestine, which is become a digital country, for example, that include all of the items from arts and culture to economic system to finance to trading elements. So all of this in the works, but we're developing and rolling out different things over time, and it's going to take us probably a couple of years before it's fully developed.
Yeah. I just want to briefly tell people how, step by step, and how they can get Yafa, because in order to drive adoption, you have to show people the
So I'm
steps. Do
looking
it.
at that right now. So
Yeah.
basically, what you have to do, you have to get a Phantom wallet, and however you get Solana, you can just deposit that into.
Where did they get that?
Okay, so on the
Baby
website.
steps. Imagine I don't know anything.
Oh, okay,
about it,
so
yeah.
do you have a I mean, everything's laid out on the website. So you go to yafa.io and you can go on the hamburger, how to buy. It'll tell you very clearly. So all you're going to do is essentially, you're going to go to Phantom. You're going to download, create the wallet there, right? Now you have your ability to, you need a wallet to buy to actually purchase cryptocurrency, right? So it's a platform and a wallet.
Just store it.
Right. I mean, so on that platform called Phantom, you can choose to buy Solana, whatever amount you want to buy. Once you do that, then you're going to have to convert it to Yafa. And then there's a step here where it shows you how to do it. Swap the tokens. You copy the exact address they give you here into the box, and you swap the amount that you want to do, and then it'll transfer into your own Yafa wallet, which is on the Phantom platform. So you'll have your wallet will reside on Phantom.
And these directions are all on yafa.io.
Yafa.io, yeah. Just go to the hamburger and how to buy.
Okay.
It's fairly simple.
Got it.
All you're doing is buying and swapping, right? It's what you're doing. But if you don't know cryptocurrency, you probably just want to research a wallet real quick and what platforms are. Essentially, for people who know Coinbase, it's like when you go to Coinbase, you automatically have all these wallets available to you. That's kind of like what Phantom is, right? So when you buy Solana, it's going to go to your Solana wallet. And when you swap it for a different currency, it's going to go into the Yafa wallet, which is in your Phantom network. It's there in your Phantom account, right? It's going to be there. So now it's in that wallet, but you just have to make sure you have the right addresses, make sure you don't, you have to follow the directions, but nothing. Once you do it the first time, it's easy after that. Yeah.
Yeah. So can you move your wallet into Coinbase? I don't know if that works.
No, I mean, unless Yafa is, Coinbase only holds wallets that it sells and trades.
Okay.
Right. So that's why. And I believe you can possibly maybe even move this to a cold wallet, so it doesn't have to reside on Phantom necessarily. You may be able to move Yafa into. I'm sure you can.
A cold wallet is basically something
A
that's
ledger,
not connected to the internet. It's just a physical storage device.
And why that's important is, let's say the thing grows, right? You want to do humanitarian work, you can literally carry around all your donations on a cold wallet.
That's
and
cool.
walk into a place and essentially transfer without doing.
The only danger is that if you lose it, you lose it.
Yeah, you lose everything.
It's gone.
Yeah. Cold wallets are supposed to be extremely safe. You don't want to move it around too much if you don't have to.
It should be in a safe.
Yeah, I mean, imagine just taking a whole bank account with you and walking somewhere, right? You don't want to do that unless you really absolutely have to, right? Like,
Wow.
so yeah. So it's a good deal. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get some today, inshallah.
Inshallah. I think this is a really important project and something that I looked into before having Emad on, because whenever you hear about coins, there's just so many meme coins that have kind of driven down people's interest in looking into coins and into buying coins in general. And so for obviously Emad's being behind it is a big boost to the coin itself, because of his reputation that he carries with it, and his endorsement of this this coin that carried a lot of weight for me as well. And then looking into the actual coin and its technology and how it operates, that it is legitimately a legitimate coin that's operating off the Solana network. That in itself was a lot for me to actually give it attention.
So I have a question, Emad.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, please go ahead.
I was going to just make a point, and then I'll answer your question here. The difference here with this coin is that we have the probably the 10 or 12 that are the key holders of Yafa. They hold about 80% of the coins, and they're never planning to sell any of it, because really what we wanted to do is to grow Yafa significantly, and then we're going to donate all of this into non-profit organizations and other areas to sustain, to allow the sustainability of their financial capabilities, so they can actually do a lot more to liberate Palestine. So this is really the objective of this. So you're not going to find as the price of Yafa goes up, somebody comes in and sells 5 or 10% of its holding, and you wind up dropping the price to nothing. So our commitment is to the liberation movement, and we're never going to be selling any of this in a major scale. Now, some of the other holders, obviously, we cannot control it. If somebody buys 1% of Yafa and then goes up and he decides to sell, that's up to them. But also we continue to have new holders coming in. I mean, just in the last few months now we have almost 26,000 holders of Yafa, which is significant for the period of time that we are in. But really, our goal is to have a million plus people trading within Yafa over time.
Yeah,
so we appreciate you spreading the word and telling your friends and family about it and become a holder of Yafa.
And inshallah, you have 26,000.
Because really, it's an important tool, inshallah.
Yeah, you have 26,003 now. So us three over here will definitely buy it and make sure we'll hold on to it.
So quick question, and by the way, just I think I was reading some of this while you were talking. So they actually have a Yafa treasury. So that fund, the growth of and the profits and the transactions and all that stuff goes to a treasury, which will be used for things like sovereign funds, humanitarian aid, just basically administrative operations to keep the fund running, development going. So it's a long-term project, right? And they're planning to do it. So, but question on this, I know Solana is about $120, $130, I think, a coin now. What's the ratio from Solana to Yafa?
Yeah, so when we first started Yafa, it was 0.005.
Yeah.
Today it's 0.024, I think. It's pretty close to that.
Not bad.
And Solana is almost 135.
Yeah, you're doing better than Shiba Inu. You're doing better than Shiba. That's good, mashallah. Yeah, awesome. So basically, guys, what the question that I'm asking is, because people might be wondering, oh my God, do I have to buy $130 of Solana? And the short answer is no. You can buy whatever amount you want to. You can buy fractional. It's called fractional buying, right? So if you want to buy $50, you can buy $50 worth of Solana, and you'll get X amount of, at that rate, whatever, 2.4, whatever it is, 0.24. You'll get that amount of Yafa. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. I'm excited. I think this is great because I think we can adopt this outside of even just Palestine itself and in the Muslim world in general, right? Because how many of us have to do like hawala? We have to send money, right? I got to know somebody who knows somebody, and you hope the money gets there, right? You don't know, right? Like you don't know what happens, right? You just got to trust the guy, right? And you don't know what happens, right? So, but in general, I'm a big advocate of anything that makes Muslims, helps them reach financial autonomy, right? Right now, we're so dependent on financial systems, and even in terms of, funding. Like we have to get things approved, and you have to depend on the IMF, and you have to, we know what that entails, right? It means that you have to meet the demands of the NATO and all these people, right? Just nonsense red tape that you have to get through. And then also, the nice thing is that Muslim employers can pay Muslim employees in Yafa, and hey, I mean, it's cheaper, right? You're not going to the bank. The bank has to pay ridiculous payroll fees, ACH fees, all this crazy stuff. Do you know bank transfers, by the way? It takes 2 days, right? There's no reason for it to take 2 days. It used to be back in the days because they had to make a message over the line, and the bank would have to say, we received your message. Okay, what do you want? Okay, we're making this request, and it would take a couple of days. Nowadays, it's a digital ledger, just like anything else. But they do it because they get to hold your money for 2 days and invest it somewhere else.
I didn't know that.
They make money on your money.
For 2 days, while your family's waiting to pay the bill, they're trading around your money for 2 days.
Right. I mean, here
and they charge you for it. They charge you to give them the money so they can play with your money.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's wild.
This is what riba is all about.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So
currency.
that's why I'm a big proponent of cryptocurrency, because banking systems in the world today are ridiculous. It's one of the reasons it keeps people poor. It's designed to keep people spending more. Like, for example, if you go to any bank and say, put your money in a CD. Yeah. Put your money in a CD. Keep your money in a CD. That CD gets you 1%. Your inflation's at 4% right now, or maybe even higher now. It's like 7-8%, right? That means you're losing money keeping it in the bank. You're losing it. And they're happy to tell you.
I like the idea. Pay your
you pay yourself. Basically, crypto is you becoming your own bank. You becoming your own central bank. You don't need to rely on people for that stuff. That's all it is. That's why I was asking these questions, because you can adopt it. Like we could, for example, start taking donations in Yafa, right? And it would be easier for them. People wouldn't have to, we don't pay PayPal fees. We don't pay whatever fees are out there, right? It's just minimal fees every transaction has a minimal fee to process it, but it's significantly less over cryptocurrency. Yeah.
And how secure? I mean, this is just an uninitiated asking you a question about.
And the Solana network, so it's.
But like, let's just say let's say that the Zionist entity sees that all these Muslims and people, that's not just Muslims, are dealing this Yafa currency. How secure is it? Like, what can be done through the back doors and stuff like that? Is there anything like that?
All they can do is try to ban a coin, like America tried to ban cryptocurrency, but you just can't effectively ban $1 million worth of money. How do you do that? You can ban it in your country. But how do you
hacking and all that kind of stuff?
It's blockchain. I mean, unless you give somebody your wallet, unless you stupidly say, "Hey, I'm going to send you money." But as far as hacking, there are ledgers, Amr. There's independent ledgers that are verified on nodes of network. Even if you try to alter one, it'll immediately be kicked off the node because others are independently verifying.
That's pretty cool.
See, here's the thing. I don't want to get too technical, but banks, you have to rely on their ledger. They have a central master ledger that you have to trust them and say, "This is what I have." In this, or even the American central bank, right? It's just how it is, right? Everything has to go report back to them. One source of authority. In cryptocurrency, in this node, you have independent nodes that verify transactions and verify ledger. So even if one node goes completely down, you have this backup of transactions and verification of transactions. So it's always there.
And you don't really have names. What you have is a wallet ID.
Yeah. Exactly.
So they don't know that you own this much of Yafa, and unless you disclose it and you give them your wallet account.
You could have 1 million wallets if you want, and no one would know. There's no KYC for a wallet.
I see.
Yeah, you could have a $1 in a million different wallets that have $1 million, and they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know.
No, and I know we were saying that paying employees in Yafa. Are there places right now that are paying their employees in cryptocurrency?
Some people do. Some people. I mean, I've heard of companies not entire salaries but bonuses in Bitcoin. I've heard that.
I see. That I've heard.
Actually, we're doing now this in Gaza. I don't know if you all heard of the Gaza soup kitchen. That is basically distributing food to probably tens of thousands of people. They pay some of their employees with Yafa.
Oh wow, amazing!
They pay their employees in Yafa.
And then what's the long term? Like, I'm assuming that in the future, as this becomes more popular, that like there'll be a marketplace, like where wholly and totally owned by the Yafa group, like where people can purchase, exchange, whatever. Maybe even
we're planning to actually have our own blockchain. Like you have a Solana blockchain, you have the Bitcoin blockchain. We're going to have a Yafa blockchain, and this is probably within the next 6 to 12 months.
Inshallah.
MashaAllah.
And one thing on my mind going is, I'm like, man, how many young and how many just Muslims have ideas, but they don't have seed money. They don't have a platform to really trusted, reliable people where they can get startup funding, right? Yeah. Like now you can have a portion of the people who own it, they can create their own little group and say, hey, we're angel investors, or we are, we're startup financing, whatever it is, right? We want a piece of the share of the company. And they can do that now, right? They can do it without having to, deal with all these crazy Wall Street people that have ridiculous terms. So
the biggest challenge of it is just adoption. The concept of it and the adoption and having people understand what cryptocurrency is and the ability for them to buy it, and once you have people buying it and have a simplified way of them using it as a form of transactions, it's just going to blow everything out of the water. I just don't see the future for any other type of currency once you simplify that process and make people understand how what a digital wallet is and how you can convert your US dollar to any of the major coins, or whether it's a major coin or a smaller coin, just converting that and using that as a form of transaction.
I think it is. I think we'll get to that point when, for example, your mom and dad can explain to you what cryptocurrency is. Like right now, if you ask them about stocks, even the they know exactly what it is, right? When it becomes that known, then it becomes like something that, okay, now it's something that it has momentum behind it. Meaning people, if you understand it, then it becomes easily adaptable.
And the volatility also has to be solved as well, because when you are buying, or let's say I sell my phone here for 100 cryptocurrency, and tomorrow it becomes, that same cryptocurrency becomes is valued at 200.
Yeah.
I feel like I got ripped off because all of a sudden I experienced mass inflation.
Yeah. So I think like, you know, fluctuation of any currency is there, but I think what you're right is the extreme, like the parabolic.
Yeah.
You know, it's extreme dips and highs, right? Like people need some stability, and I think it'll get there, right? Especially when you have something like this that's growing organically, like it has it's not just like a pump and dump meme coin, right? It's something that they have when you're putting it into it, it's gonna grow steadily. Like think about it, like it started at 0.005, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you look at things like pump and dump coins, they go to like $2 and they drop down to like, you know, 0.0008, right?
Yeah.
Like they just drop because they're just meme coins, right?
That's what's driving the
Look at
major financial institutions mad, because they don't have control over Bitcoin. Usually they would have the ability to manipulate these markets so much but now it's like, in the past, Bitcoin, if it fell, it would fall a lot. But now, just even experiencing some of the most turbulent news and stuff, fell like 20-30%. But it's, you know, it's holding steady.
Yeah, and so I think that's the biggest thing he mentioned, and I think I want to highlight out of this whole conversation, is that regardless of the volatility, regardless of adaptability right now, one thing to take away from this is that it's something that major players, governments, and industries cannot control. Market dictates. People dictate what it's going to be worth. So meaning that if people are interested in it and they continue to be inside of it, like Bitcoin is never going to be zero now because people are invested in Bitcoin. It may fluctuate, may go up and down, but no one can take away the value, whatever that value is, of Bitcoin.
I see.
When I first bought Bitcoin like 10 years ago, it was less than $1,000. And now it's holding steady at like 70, 75, like it won't go below that, right? So what I'm saying is that, now, of course, there's a lot of volatility in it, but what I'm saying is that it's like anything else you'd hold, whether it be gold or silver, whatever it may be, but no one else can take that from me. Like no one has control
That's
over
what they mean
it.
by the independence of it.
Right,
Yeah.
no one can tank it. It's fluctuating according to the market, supply and demand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, you look at the fluctuations, but if you look at Bitcoin, for example, I mean, since its inception, it grew up 17,000%.
Yeah.
There's no other investment like this. You look at Solana, I think it grew up like maybe 12,000% over the last 7-8 years. And ultimately, you know, even with Yafa, since its inception, we grew up almost 2,400%.
MashaAllah.
In 8 months.
It's amazing.
But some months we had a dip of 40%.
That's
and then we
normal.
went up significantly.
Inshallah to the moon.
Inshallah, this is our plan, is for Yafa to be $1.
Inshallah.
Which means that we'll have $1 billion market cap, because we can help a lot of people with doing this.
A lot of potential, put it that way. We could talk about that for hours, but there's a lot of potential, guys, in this. So you'll be doing something good, and you'll also probably potentially be investing in something that could make you a lot of money. So
Got it.
if you have some, if you are, people do investments and they don't put their eggs in one basket, diversifying your portfolios, this might be something that might be good for you. By the way, making a disclaimer, this is not a financial advice. I don't give any financial advice, but
I
do your own research.
always people say that. Like, is that required by law?
You can be held. Yeah, you can be held liable if you're giving financial advice. Because you have a fiduciary responsibility. You have to disclose.
Even
that.
if you're not licensed or anything.
That's the whole reason why. Because you're not licensed. You can't tell people, hey, it's a good investment, and you should follow my order.
Wow. So
yeah, because there's something called a fiduciary responsibility. If you don't have that, you.
I thought like licensed professionals should be held to that kind of
that's the
standard.
whole point, because they don't want people to come on and start pretending to be licensed professionals and just giving it investment advice, especially in the market of like, hey, buy this stock. You're going to retire. You're going to do this, right? Trust me. I make, look how much money I make on my portfolio. I'm showing it, right? They have to tell you, because people get they get confused, right?
I wonder how many like lawsuits. I'm sure there are many, but I wonder how many people get sued like yearly.
I'm not sure, but
not unintending to give financial advice, but they gave some.
People give financial advice to each other all the time.
Yeah.
No. But I mean, you're talking about if you like individuals, that was different. But if you're like on a platform and you're broadcasting something, you're promoting something, like we're talking about this, that's different, right? Where it's like people can reach a mass audience. Yeah, you want to be careful.
Wow. Emad, you're involved with other humanitarian relief projects. You've founded an organization, a nonprofit organization called the Mississippi for a Just World. Can you tell us about that and what you're hoping to accomplish?
Yeah, again, this started really after October 7th of last year, when we had this organic group of really mostly young folks, over almost at the time was about 700 people that were protesting, and we felt that we need to harness all this energy and actually expand the scope from just Palestine to issues of justice across the globe. And starting with Palestine, because obviously this is a genocide that's ongoing right now. So we developed this organization to actually look at all the potential resources that we need to bring to bear to liberate, liberate people from oppression, regardless of where you are. And this requires multifaceted approach. Economic pressure is going to have to be involved. Legal pressure has to be involved. Policy changes, lobbying has to be involved in this process. Education and outreach. So the organization does all of these elements to ensure that we are educating the public and really becoming more activist and developing activist groups. So, for example, this summer we're having internship for high school students. We have 15 students that are going to be going through our training to really position them to understand why issues of justice are important, why it impacts their life, how it relates to really remove oppression from marginalized communities, and how they can become self-sustaining and become independent over time. We wanted to build this with the future generation that are going to be coming up. So we just started that organization, like I said, probably 7-8 months ago. We're building staff. We're increasing its capacity. So again, it's a nonprofit organization called Mississippi for a Just World. Starting in Mississippi, we're working both with the African American community in Jackson, Mississippi, to help improve their quality of life and really the oppressive systems that African Americans are exposed to. But also we're focusing on the Palestinian issues globally. So those are the two initiatives that we got going on right now. And hopefully, inshallah, within the next few years, we'll expand it to other troubled areas across the world as well.
Mashallah, you're just a man of many talents. And I just saw your resume before the show, and I was just looking at how many boards you've been part of. Do you ever get pushback? Because I know there's people who want to be away from politics, even in business and stuff. How do you deal with that, if you've experienced that at all, from your fellow board members or any organizations you've been part of?
I think it's all about building relationships and stay true to your principles. I think the people that I'm associated with, if somebody is pushing back and they don't really have a justification for pushing it back, we basically just wind up cutting relationships because they're not really sincere in these areas. Now, I don't have a problem with people having different opinions, unless if their motives are pure.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with having different opinions and having discussions and an argument. But knowing that they're lying and they are perpetuating these lies, I think it becomes sometimes counterproductive to even having a relationship with them.
That's such an important point, because some of my friends who initially experienced campaigns by Zionists to get them fired from their hospitals and places of work, they survived that initial impact, that blowback that the organization received from these campaigners, right, to get them fired, because of the strong values that they had, the strong relationships they built in their places of work, where people knew, like, hey, he's not an anti-Semite, like, he loves people. He's treating patients of every color and every background. Like, everyone knows it. His proof is his body of work exists, and his relationships, many testimonials will completely make any lie that is thrown against you, or any allegation that's thrown against you, fall apart. And then that in itself is such an important point that Emad is making here about building relationships. It's not just about the relationship itself, but it's your body of work. When you build a relationship, people see your character, what you're contributing to the community, how you carry yourself daily. Are you someone of honor and dignity, and someone of values and morality? And that in itself goes a long way when people try to smear you or create a campaign against you. I think some of these type of lessons are really important.
Yeah. I have a question. So I see you're into a lot of different things. How do you manage time? Like with all these different projects that you have? And because I mean, I myself, I'm busy, not in like humanitarian work, and I always find like my time is so hard to manage. Like I got like 4 or 5 different things that I work on at a time, but like it's just the managing time has been so key for me to get anything done. If I'm off by like a half an hour about something, I'm missing a deadline or a target. So how do you manage the time and like keep all the parties happy,
including your family?
Yeah,
well, the most important one.
Yeah, I think it's all about balance and priorities. I got to a point. I think I retired from my engineering practice in 2023, particularly for that reason. I used to be the CEO of the 10 largest water infrastructure company in the country. Mm-hmm.
You and my dad.
To retire.
My dad is also a civil engineer like you.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. Maybe we can connect at some point in the future talking about our stories here. But so I decided to retire because I really couldn't do everything that I wanted to do and do it justice. So I felt I had enough of corporate America, that really my passion is more in the justice and equity and philanthropic work and supporting, lifting up marginalized communities. And so that's the reason I retired. So even after retirement, my wife teases me and say, you are probably busier now than when you were working full time.
Yeah.
But alhamdulillah, Allah blessed me with good health, and so I try to spend as much time as I can with the family as well in this process. So
but do you work in blocks, like as far as like
your time and?
No, I know you mentioned prioritize your time, but if you just give like a small example, like do you actually make a calendar? Do you like make a Google calendar? Do you just work in blocks? You're like, okay, this hour to this hour, I'm gonna do this. Like if you just break it down on a very simple level, like how would you say you just baby steps, like how you do it?
Yeah, I live on my calendar, and all the people that work with me know that if they need some time, they're gonna have to send me a calendar invite. Otherwise, the meeting doesn't even exist. I mean, typically in the beginning of the day, I look at what's coming in the next day. I look at the whole week, and try to prioritize really what are the priorities. And sometimes you get involved in things that really probably we shouldn't be involved in. So I kind of put this in the bottom. If they are urgent but not important, I try not to even get engaged with those. And sometimes you have to have the discipline to say, no, guys. I mean, I know this is important to you, but this is really does not advance what we're trying to accomplish. So you're gonna have to say no sometime, which is I hate to do, but has to be done.
Yeah, I totally resonates with me. I live in my calendar. Like, I mean, I don't know if the camera can see it, but that's literally like a Monday morning calendar, right? Everything is like I do it in half-an-hour blocks, and I have to otherwise. And I prioritize. I'm like, hey, is this important or is it not? And if it's not, because I'm always double booked, triple booked, right? So I'll find, okay, I prioritize and say, okay, I'm giving my attention to it this week. Because a lot of these guys, and to his point, like, people love meetings.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of meetings can be shortened to like, so what I do is when I have meetings, I demand that I have an agenda. If there's no agenda to the meeting, I'm not coming because I need to know what we're talking about. So because if I come to the meeting, let's say I don't have all the time in the world, I need to know what point I need to address and what was pertinent to me. And then I can say, okay, go on your way, right? I can drop off now, right? And for me, it took me a while to figure that out and to put my boundaries and say, hey guys, I can't sit in the full half an hour with you. I can't be in the full hour with you, right? What do I need to accomplish right now? And being able to say that, and some people might give you a little pushback and say, I need this, I need that. But you oftentimes find that people think they need something when they don't actually in fact need it, right? So you have to kind of, at least I've learned that you have to really put those boundaries in and take your time serious. Like I can't stress this enough. Like for me, getting up early, my day starts post Fajr because I need the early days to plan my day in the beginning. I need time for me, right? Because if I start at 8 o'clock, like I'm already pushed into everything, right? So I need time to plan my day, and then so I can't. And that's why I was asking about time management because for me, I don't know how I would get multiple things done without time management. It just wouldn't happen for me. Yeah.
Emad, how do people get in touch with you on the Muslim Street? Are you available on every platform?
With the Muslim Street, I'm not really sure whether I'm on their platform or not. I need to ask Malik.
Well, I did some research. I did some homework before you started. So you are available on YouTube. So go ahead and subscribe to their channel if you haven't done so already. It's called The Muslim Street.
Do it now.
They're doing a lot of great work. Hina, Malik, and yourself. I'm forgetting someone else, but everyone's doing an incredible job bringing in all kinds of different voices that many Muslims aren't even aware of that exist in the United States, especially relating to some of the original civil rights activists and stuff from Black Panthers and stuff. So some really good episodes out there. Be sure to check them out when you have a chance, fellas. Thank you so much, Brother Emad, for giving us your time this afternoon.
Yes.
Is there anything that you want to leave us with before you leave?
No, I just really want to first thank you, all three of you, for a wonderful discussion. These are important topics that I hope the audience find beneficial in their life, but also beneficial in liberating our people collectively, brown and black people, from the oppression that we face every day, regardless where you are. And you know, we need to continue to work in unity. Because the colonial mentality is divide and conquer, and we should be double effort really for us to be united. So inshallah, this is the message that I have. Let's work together as one team and one unit, and inshallah they will not be able to break us.
Absolutely. For our listeners, please make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Throw a comment in the comment section below with your thoughts related to this show. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you all next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
I want their leader brought here. I want him brought to me. I want the revolution crushed.